Hey guys, welcome to the first installment of my production diary for Last Call, a feature film that I'm currently writing the music for. I thought I'd take you guys along for the journey in terms of how I'm writing the music and then eventually to the recording session that we're going to be doing down in Windsor. First off, I thought I'd give you a little bit of background on how this project came to be because it's actually kind of a crazy story. So Last Call is a feature-length film shot in a single take. There are going to be no cuts in the final movie, there's no hidden cuts, there's no tricks. They literally shot the whole thing from beginning to end in one take. It's done in two locations with two actors, so it's a split screen movie too. And the story basically follows a desperate man played by David Wilkins who calls what he thinks is a suicide hotline and by accident ends up getting the night janitor at a local college, and they end up building a relationship over the course of the film. Heartfelt, heartrending, and a really interesting meditation on human connection and how we deal with tragedy. One of the last major projects that Gavin and I worked on was a movie called The Scare House. It was shot in 2014 down in Windsor, Gavin's hometown. It was all shot inside a working haunted attraction. When I saw those stills from the set production, I realized that there was a ton of stuff on the set that would be really cool to record. So I spent 2 days down there. Actually went down to Windsor in this blasting hot, super uncomfortable, decrepit Knights of Columbus building, recording all the junk and garbage basically that was strewn throughout this place. And I used all that material to create the score for the film. That's sort of been our MO for a lot of things that we do together. We're always trying to find some sort of crazy concept or some sort of really interesting angle to really make this score feel like a signature part of the movie. In this case, when Gavin told me about him shooting a single take movie with no edits in it, I was thinking, okay, so how am I going to match Gavin this time? Like, what am I going to do that's going to get up to that same level of ambition and craziness? And after thinking for a bit, I thought, well, I could record the score in one take. I didn't really have a clear idea of what exactly that would mean, but when I told Gavin, he was excited and he was like, yes, we're definitely doing that. So he goes down to Windsor to shoot the movie, and I get a text from him one night. It's a link to a news program. I'm like, oh cool, they got some coverage. So I'm checking out the news program. It's like a local boy from Windsor comes back to shoot his feature-length movie done in single take, blah blah blah, and they're on set and they're shooting all this cool stuff. I'm like, this is amazing. We've already got some cool footage and some cool, news coverage for our film. And then it cuts back to the studio and the announcer goes, and the movie is not the only thing that's going to be done in a single take. Like, we hadn't even discussed how it was going to be possible. I hadn't even thought about like what it was going to be. Like, it was just me on a piano doing one take and just watching the film like Neil Young did for Dead Man or something like that. Or, what was the budget going to be? We hadn't talked about anything. And now I was committed to this crazy way of scoring a film. That was the beginning of the crazy journey that I'm now on. So I've been spending the last few weeks really working hard on the main themes. I really wanted to get the language of the film, the themes for the characters, and the whole tone and how I was going to approach this movie. It's a very delicate thing because there are these long moments. I mean, it's very unusual because there's no cut, so you're always held on a character. Whenever they move, the camera has to follow and you're watching what's going on. So it feels very different. It feels very different to score that and to move through those scenes, and I find that my approach had to change too. So one thing that I did this time around that's a little different from how I normally work is I really just wanted to get away from the computer. I didn't want to sit in front of a screen, have that machine in between me and the music. So I ended up sitting down in front of my beautiful vintage Heinzmann piano, and I just sat and worked on themes. I just worked on music for days at a time, just trying to come up with the right tone and the right feeling and the right themes for the characters that not only brought to life and deepened that sense of tragedy and that deepened that sense of longing and sadness, but also made you feel very connected with the characters and gave you a real deep sense of empathy and sympathy for them and what they're going through. So later, once I put those themes together and I was sort of comfortable with the basic building materials, the building blocks, then I went to my computer and I laid it all out and I had it all up on one session. I knew that I wanted to have two very distinct voices for each character. It's really interesting because there are no cuts and there's no cutting away from either scene because both characters are always on screen all the time. So what I realized was one of the opportunities for music was to help the audience focus in on whose scene it was at any given point in time using both instrumentation and character themes. So whenever we want you to focus on Beth, we're going to use Beth's theme primarily, and it's going to be voiced in either the viola or the violin. And when it's about Scott and it's Scott's scene, then we're going to switch over to his theme and we're going to play that in the cello, so it's going to be a much lower theme. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed that little walkthrough of some of the themes and the sounds that I had at the piano. If you like the videos, please give me a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.